right, our guest on today's edition of Naija Unfiltered, Kenneth Okonkwo, public affairs analyst, a columnist, a legal practitioner, a politician, and of course, those that blaze the trail in the Nollywood industry.
Thank you very much for this opportunity again to talk about Nigeria. And thank you, viewers from any part of the world that you're watching.
All right, let's start this way. Dr. Kach Onanuju said you left the Labour Party after P2B denied their request for National Publicity Secretary position. According to him, you lobbied for it. How true is that?
You know, in all honesty, at times it's not necessary answering back to people that you know that are sick. You know, a lot of people do not understand that the so-called Kach Onanuju is now suffering from a degenerative mental disease that is age. You know, this disease will make you to fabricate something that is non-existent and postulate it as if it is a fact. Now, let's look at it this way. First of all, I have never had any meeting in my life between P2B, Kach Onanuju, and myself. Never. You know, even a lot of journalists are really of low IQ. Anyway, with the advent of this social media and everybody's now claiming to be a journalist, I wonder why they did not even ask him, please, were you there with P2B when Kenneth Okonkwo ever lobbied him for any office? Because I have never lobbied P2B for any office whatsoever. So I wonder what brought such fabrication. But I understand because, like I told you, I am aware that he's suffering from a degenerative. Now, let me ask you, is it not ridiculous? Somebody is already a presidential spokesperson, and you said he went to the same person that he is speaking for to lobby to be a publicity secretary of a failed political party, because he said after the election, not even before the election. He said after the election. Does it make sense? Now, who is that person that want to go and lobby the person you're already serving for another post of a lower quality? Let me ask, please, being a presidential spokesperson and being the publicity secretary of a failed political party, which one is greater? No, if you check this government now, which one is higher? And somebody sat down and fabricated something, and people are even listening to him. Okay, now let's even listen to that Kach Onanuju interview. In that same interview, he said he was the one who brought Hope Uzodinma to contest for election. Can you imagine a rat like that? An old horse like Hope Uzodinma. Meanwhile, Hope Uzodinma is APC. He said he's still a member of PDP, meaning he was playing double APC, PDP. And he said he worked for P2B. That's Labour Party. So, Kach Onanuju alone is with APC, PDP, Labour Party at the same time. And you're listening to such political job. Now, he said Kenneth Okonkwo met them. Met you where? Because you were never, from your own analysis, you were never a member of Labour Party. Met you where? And you can imagine such empty barrel that is making the most noise, saying he was part of it that formed the obedient movement. Can you imagine? He does not even understand what the movement is. Otherwise, he wouldn't even say he was part of the one that formed the obedient movement. Was an organic movement that sprang up on its own, growing up everywhere because of the dissatisfaction of the people against the existing order. And one man that, like I said, that is mentally challenged is coming to tell lies. Fabrication. I said I have never had any meeting whatsoever between three of us for life. It never existed. They should have asked him, were you there when Kenneth Okonkwo was lobbying people? Have you ever had any meeting whatsoever? Three of you only. But people will just sit down and talk absolute Nonsense. But here is the problem. How is it that people are lying with P2B's name? And P2B will hear such a thing publicly and will not react to it and will not call them to order publicly. You can never use me, Kenneth Okonkwo, to lie against P2B, no matter the situation. Once you bring it publicly, because I detest lies. If it is not true, I will come out publicly to debunk it. So why has P2B not debunked such useless lie that somebody is lying with his name? It shows a leader that cannot even defend the truth or defend people who have even worked for him. These are the kind of problems that P2B has, attracting even street urchins, classless street urchins. So we will buy you there. I saw another classless street urchin of the cookie, so cookie level, not a cookie. All those rabies infested, dogs that anything you do, because they are ill-bred, they are very ill-mannered, ill-tempered street urchins. These are kind of followers that he's attracting now. Okay, we buy you there. What was that? What's so great we buy you there? I don't know what it is. But this, can you imagine? In a society that other leaders are attracting distinguished people, the people you are attracting are street urchins of the people that fabricate things that are non-existing. If there is anybody who is a political jobber, who is eating from both PDP, APC, LP, is Kajononuju. So how can I meet somebody in a movement and in a political party that he's not a member? And he confessed, he said that he's still a member of PDP. Is then he's still a serious politician who is still a member of PDP? And then he is coming to call Kenneth Okonkwo unashamedly. Please, there is nothing wrong whatsoever in lobbying for any political post if you're a politician. So if I lobbied for any, I'll be bold enough to say I lobbied for this post. It's not a crime. What is wrong with it? When I left Labour Party, I was bold enough to speak out on the reason that I left Labour Party. I said, look, anarchy is going to come into this party because people who are supposed to take decision have refused to take decision. And since they've refused to take decision, I have no business remaining there because I don't like to join on serious organizations. I made it public. And by then, this level of anarchy has not even come. Meaning people now know that I'm saying the truth. So do you think it is giving up being a presidential spokesperson? I gave it up. I didn't have any political party. I didn't have any politician for months. And I said, if there's no new arrangement, no new alignment, no new coalition that will give Nigerians alternative and that can give the ruling party a run for their money, I will not be part of 2027. And somebody is saying you went to lobby for publicity secretary of a failed political party. Let me tell you the closest I came to about leadership of Labour Party. There is a member of the House of Representatives, and he's still alive now. During that convention, he came to me. He said, look, if Abure is not going to run or is not interested in the convention, there are only two persons he's interested in to be the national chairman of Labour Party. He said, you, Kenneth Okonkwo. And he mentioned one other person from the north. And I told him, say, look, if you ever sat down and contemplated Kenneth Okonkwo to be national chairman of Labour Party, then that means you don't even like P2B to be president. How would it suit that somebody from Southeast will be national chairman and we want to push another person from the Southeast to be president? I said, don't even mention it again. I said, I am going to support a Northerner to be national chairman because that balancing is what is going to suit the candidacy of P2B. He's still alive. So if I rejected even the idea of being a national chairman, then somebody who thinks he wants to trend with the name of Kenneth Okonkwo, the big cheap name, will now come to say that me lobbied for publicity secretary of a failed political party. Even if he's brilliant, he would have even said something that is believable. Because I cannot leave being a presidential spokesperson, which is a higher office, and start lobbying the same person I am speaking for a failed publicity secretary of a failed political party. It's ridiculous. So please, I wouldn't have even loved to reply to this, but if I didn't say anything, people would think maybe there's even a sense in what he was saying. All the journalists that ever repeated such nonsense, I regard them as classless, low IQ journalists. They couldn't even ask him certain questions. I don't even need to reply to such a thing because a lie is standing on its face. So please, I don't normally honestly reply to such liars. Let them continue following their kind of leader that they have chosen.
All right, let's move on. What's your take on the president's independence speech to Nigerians, and how do you react to that?
It is very sad that President Tinubu's speeches, almost all of them, are now becoming a propaganda machine. 100% propaganda. No element of truth. No element of substance. None. It's unfortunate that any time now you sit down, you want to listen to the president talk, what you'll be hearing is complete braggadocio, complete propaganda, devoid of substance, devoid of truth. And making such broadcasts when people are suffering and dying out of hunger and hardship is disheartening. Throughout the whole speech, did you hear him mention how much Nigeria is owing now? Nigeria is owing $100 billion. That's about 150 trillion naira. And Tinubu borrowed almost half of this amount within 2 years. And he's telling you about the economy improving. Everything his government is doing now is based on rebasing. Because they cannot stand up to the truth of the facts. They'll tell you they have rebased the GDP. They'll tell you they have rebased the inflation in order to manipulate the figures. Let me tell you the hoax that has become this government. Part of the propaganda they used to come into government is that by 2030 they will make Nigerian economy $1 trillion economy. After they are rebasing, Nigerian economy, the GDP is about $243 billion. The president is touting that the GDP has increased by 4.23%. 4.23% of the GDP. Give them even $280 billion. Dash them that, because at times they would issue the propaganda that is $280 billion. Because basically it's about 372 point something trillion naira, which is about $243 billion. But give them even $280 billion, growing at the rate of 4.24%, meaning each year there will be a growth of about $11.9 billion. In 5 years, it will be about $60 billion. If you add that to $280 billion, it will be about $340 billion by 2030. Not even up to about 30% of the propaganda that this government is deceiving people about. $1 trillion, 2030. Creating false hopes, creating false impression. Look at that speech. Did not even pay condolences to the hundreds that were massacred in Katsina, in Zamfara, worshipping God. And he is a Muslim. He picked another fellow Muslim ticket. Muslims dying in droves. Nothing to signify the level of security. And you can see how the young Somtochukwu Maduago was murdered as a result of the insecurity problem. That is why people will tell you that when it comes to insecurity, you can't allow the criminals 1% success. Because that 1% success can lead to irreparable, irreplaceable loss, which will be 100% to the people that are the victims of this. The young Sumto was massacred and died. The president could not recognize such terrible loss in a broadcast. 29-year-old lawyer, my learned colleague. And you know, broadcasting is part of the general entertainment in a way. They educate, they inform. And yet you have a president that is dishing out propaganda in the name of broadcast on an independent, on an independent celebration. Now, what are the contents of his speech? He told you that inflation has gone down to 20 point something percent. Rebased. Please, has the cost of fuel per liter gone down? Has the cost of PMS, which is powering the whole inflation determination, has it gone down? Where did they get that figure from? Rebased. The cost of food, the only ones that have gone down are the ones that they harmfully ordered their importation. Rice, maize, and another crop. They imported it in order to create the impression that things are not going haywire. So if you go to the market, you will see the prices of all those ones that are not being imported still very high and has even gone up. And then those ones that they are now importing, the expired rice and all those things. Because they say these are some of the rice that they've stored abroad for more than 10 years. Why make the farmers to go and suffer under the security to produce, and they cannot sell now because you have ordered importation when you know that the prices are going haywire? Unhealthy food. And it's a president that is telling you things are improving. If people are not dying in your village because of hunger and hardship, they are dying in my village in Soka because of hunger and hardship. So all those talk, they are simply bewitching Nigeria. I have said it before. And whatever APC says about itself is a lie. But they have upgraded now from the level of lies to the level of bewitchment through enchantments. That's what they're doing. Falsehood is no longer enough. They've now grown to enchantment so that they can bewitch. Now, what was the president saying? In the economy, he wants to let you know that non-oil export is improving. On what? Okay, let's start from revenue. By August, he said they have collected all the revenue. From where? Extorting the people through higher taxes, through higher tariffs. What are they producing that will make the revenue to increase? Tinubu's government is serving the powerful, not the people. Can you imagine? In that speech, he said they have shared 330 billion naira in social investment program. To who? They say 8 million homes. They say 25,000 per month. Some have received 2 months. Where are they? People are moving more into poverty, and you're saying you're sharing money. But here is the annoying thing. They have shared 332 billion unaccounted money to people that probably some of them have died so long ago. Because to me, in my own opinion, they're just sharing that money amongst themselves. Recalling what happened, that EFCC is investigating that ministry. One person being found to be cutting away 40 billion naira. Tinubu's humanitarian minister, within days or weeks of operating as a minister, billions, 3.2 billion then was brought out. And they said they were going to give 500 and something million to 4 states. And almost 3 billion was used, they say, consultancy fee. You will see a minister getting as big as 400 and something million. They say consultancy fee to tell us how many number of poor people in the states. So that money you saw, in my own opinion, is being shared among the powerful and the people who are students in the name of NEL Fund, in the name of youth credo, or what do you call it? Corporation credo, youth credo. They say they are lending money to youths. They will borrow to youths, lend to industries. But they will bring money in the name of social investment program and share among the powerful in the name of sharing it to homes. Assuming you're even sharing it to homes, you're teaching them to eat fish. So after the 3 months, wow, what would each person use 75,000 to do after 3 months? No, what can 25,000 naira afford you? If you had used that 330 billion naira, for instance, in power, you know what it would have done? It will help most of those homes you're seeing to be able to start doing something, and their children from their house, because there is availability of power. If Awolowo is alive today, he will use that money and provide free education to the children, not borrowing money to the indigent students. He said they have borrowed about 140 or thereabout billion naira. They have borrowed to indigent students to go to school through NEL Fund. They will still come back to pay. Yet you're sharing. If you don't have money to provide education, healthcare, then you're sharing money among the powerful. So all those revenue you're seeing is more extortion from Nigerian people. A president heartlessly removed subsidy, and he's saying that it is only the very few corrupt people that we are gaining from subsidy. What a lie. When you remove subsidy, the poor people that are using fuel across Nigeria started paying 1,000 naira almost, instead of the 195 naira they were paying. And you're saying they are not benefiting from it. No. Nigerians, we are benefiting. But here is the catch. I have never supported retaining the subsidy. But what I was fighting for is removing the corruption in the subsidy. And when you do it, the price will come down immediately. What has been happening is higher prices, not that they gave any subsidy whatsoever. Incompetence and corruption is what has been happening, not that they gave subsidy in the first place. Why? Oil is our product that is running like water for us. Your own is just to scoop it. And rather than scooping it and boiling it, look, refining is one of the cheapest, the easiest thing to do. Why am I saying this? If all these young boys in the Niger Delta has acquired the technology and they are refining oil in their backyard, and we don't have any cry that there is fake oil, that means Nigerians have acquired the know-how to refine oil, rather than empowering these children, telling them, come out, teaching them how to do things without pollution, so that you will have refineries everywhere like we used to have it in the Southeast those days, those of palm oil. Every home was producer of oil. That was why it was surplus and was sustaining the... What is wrong in making oil the same thing? Teaching them the technology. It is their product. They are entitled to benefit from it. And now, the government will withdraw giving people licenses to refine oil. The government will monopolize the whole refineries and be spending billions of dollars, including this government that is not working. That is what is making the price of oil to go high. You're importing all the oil you need, and you're doing it in dollars. The prices will go high, so you are not giving subsidy. Nigerians are paying for the incompetence and corruption of the ruling class. So what was I preaching for? Remove that incompetence. How? Privatize the refineries if you cannot repair them And when you sell the 4 refineries to 4 different people, you have had 4 competitors. Now you did not do it. Dangote now came in, and all the refineries have crumbled. And then you're saying he's a monopolist. No. Dangote is a smart person. He's just doing what we were taught to do when I was reading business administration. Come out to the system, identify a problem, and bring solution. And you become a billionaire. You become a trillionaire. So what Dangote does, being a smart business person, a Nigerian one for that matter, he will come and identify a problem. He knows that because of the incompetence and corruption of the government, they will never be able to repair those refineries. So when he wanted to buy the refineries, the federal government had already sold it to him. And incompetently, they reversed it. Since they sold it to him and reversed it, from about 2007, those refineries have still been in a state of disrepair. And Nigeria has spent almost more than $18 billion or more than $10 billion trying to repair them. And the money he used to build one of the largest refineries on earth is even smaller than if you check all the total money that have been pumping into those refineries to repair them. Corruption. This is what is making the price of your oil to be high. When they do all those corruption, when they are now importing, when Nigeria is consuming like 30 million liters, they will say it's 60 million liters. That is what is making, and it's the people that are paying for all those subsidies. That is what is making, purportedly making those subsidies. When you remove those things, assuming that we have now 5 major competitors like Dangote, that's when you will know that the Dangote will be selling that oil even 300 naira a liter, and nothing will happen. Because just look at what is happening in telecommunication industry. When Nigeria wanted to start telecommunication industry, people were paying us billions of dollars to get the license because they know that we have the market. And when they got the license, they did what we did. They established telecommunication industry. Till today, the cost of our data, telecommunication, has not gone haywire relative to the economic environment. But the fuel, the oil that we have in our own land, somebody will tell you subsidy. There's nothing like subsidy in the first place. It's inefficiency and corruption. So Tinubu removing oil subsidy. The first interview I granted 24 hours after removing, I said, sir, please don't. What you should do is to ensure that there are regular supply and that there is no monopoly, and the price will come down on its own. Because get another Dangote, get 2 more Dangote, supply crude oil to them, and Nigeria will become net exporters of fuel, and the price will come down on its own. That's market forces. So let them not bamboozle you. What Tinubu did, and I'll tell you how Tinubu operates. Why I say he's serving the powerful, not the people. When they want to take policy, what they are looking for is how much money will it give us? How much revenue? Not how will it conduce to the welfare of the people. The broadcast is the 3rd time, meaning he's approaching his 3rd year in office. And some dimwits are still telling you that the administration is too young. 4 years is the term of office. Any policy that 100 days after you proclaim that policy, that people have not started seeing the fruit of it, is a scam. Is a sham. When he removed that purported subsidy, I said, sir, this is unsustainable. And that is what is happening. You know, when they say Nigerian economy is stable, profound respect, it's not true. Nigerian economy is not stable. Nigerian economy is stagnant. These are 2 different things. Why am I saying it's not stable? If it is stable, why would ASU be threatening to go on strike, or they're on strike? If it is stable, why would health officials, doctors and nurses, be going on strike? If it is stable, why is Dangote and Pengasson trying to kill themselves in the oil that we produce? No, it's not stable. The hunger and hardship is increasing. It is stagnant. When you see Naira, they say it is stabilizing at 1,400. Shame unto you. Naira that you met 400 and something Naira. You're saying it is stable at 1,400, 1,500. It reached 1,800. No. Stability has to do that with the fact that you're coming to the desired level of value that you want. The whole world say Naira is undervalued. Meaning there is nothing with good policy that would have made Naira to climb above 1,000 Naira. Imagine Sefa being more powerful than Naira. And you're saying the economy is stable. No, the economy is stagnant. It has come to that level, and because they lack innovation, they are borrowing everything they need. No innovation, no development of the economy. It has stagnated. If it is stable, then it has come to a level where people will no longer be hungry or where things will not be hard. But because it's stagnated, people are suffering. So there is nothing in that speech except propaganda. He has borrowed Nigeria into slavery. There's one thing he said in that speech. He said he inherited near collapse economy. Please, compared to what you inherited and what we are seeing now, what you inherited is a paradise economy. The total debt then was some 7 trillion naira. He's talking about ways and means that they borrowed like 22 trillion naira or so, which they produced as in locally, as in central bank. Please, last year alone, Tinubu has borrowed 21 point something billion dollars. Compare it. They want to push all the blame to Buhari. Buhari maintained subsidy and Naira maintained the value at 420 till he left. And you're saying you inherited near collapse economy? When Jonathan removed subsidy partially, he established Shopee. When Abacha removed subsidy partially, he established PTF. And what they were using it for, we know. When Tinubu removed subsidy completely, he established no developmental program. What are they using it for? Awarding a contract for 15 trillion naira, where himself and his family has interest to their friends. And you're saying you inherited near collapse economy, and you're using money to buy private jets, 150 billion naira, and you're driving on Cadillac Beast. Please, did your predecessor drive on such cars? Did they ride on such plane? That is what is killing our economy. You did not inherit near collapse economy, sir. You are collapsing the economy through profligacy. He's running the highest bureaucracy in Nigeria. This is the person that is telling you he inherited a near collapse economy is employing 48 ministers. And he inherited a near collapse economy. And more than half of the ministers, more than 2/3 are doing nothing. And this is the person who is telling you he's the most profligate president. He has spent more nourishing his empire. And he's telling you he inherited near collapse. No, it is now that we are trying to collapse with the debt of 150 trillion naira and no productivity. Let them tell me one product Nigeria is producing that we are boasting that we are exporting. They say non-export has increased. This and that. No, the revenue that has increased came from the extortion of the Nigerian people. So that broadcast for me. Nothing.
But there was something he said. He said that the worst is over. That yesterday's pains are gone, and now the pains are giving room to relief.
The minimum wage is still 70,000 naira. At the cost of 1,500 naira, that should be about $45 a month. Not up to $2 a day. $2 a day is the level they will say people are not in abject poverty. So please, what pain has relieved? Help me. Dangote is threatening is going to increase the price of fuel. We are buying it almost 1,000 naira. It has not reduced. So please, which pain has increased? A young girl fell from the two-story building and died. And there was no adequate rush for medication, for security people available to take any instant action because of insecurity. Which pain has reduced? Is it in the economy or where? So that is propaganda. The truth is that the pain is increasing. Look at the young boys that are dying out of heart attack. Heart attack used to be things for old people. Now it's now prevalent among young people. What do you think is killing them? Bad economy, failing economy, no education. He even said that people now have more access to education. These are not, sorry, Mr. President. Rich people have more access to education. The poor people, you are still lending them money, not even building education. If you go to some universities, some college of education, you will be embarrassed. So please, except in their papers, I have not seen anything. Say the worst is over. Please, is it in insecurity? In Benue State, people are still being killed as I'm talking to you. In Plateau State, people are still being killed to the point that there was time they rioted that they don't even want the army because they don't even know what the army is doing again. They rioted recently. What happened with that young lady happened in Abuja. Insecurity. Is it in Zamfara? Is it in Katsina? Is it in the southeast? Is it in the southwest? In the southwest, they are crying practically to eat food. Which turn are you talking about? Okay, do you want to talk about Tinubu's respect for rule of law? You will be embarrassed. Look at what's happening in Osun State. Tinubu went to court and obtained the judgment of the Supreme Court that they were going to start transferring the local government money directly to them. 1 year after that, they have not implemented it. What do you call that? And in Osun State, the APC local government chairman, they want to give them the money in the accounts that they opened for themselves. Local government chairman. Meanwhile, the government was giving an excuse that they've not opened the account. They will not talk. I said, look, this government is very unserious. So all these things you're hearing is propaganda meant to bewitch. Nothing that is true. Let me ask you in all honesty, has your life improved? Now, have you had a turning point in your salary or in the value of it or in the profit you're making from your business? If the answer is no, there is no turning point yet. J&J, Johnson & Johnson, the pharmaceutical company, just left Nigeria. Just left Nigeria weeks ago. So how many of the expatriate companies are? They can only come when our raw materials, God giving something, that's what they're looking for. Maybe to mine, to do this, because that one is coming from soil. When other countries are talking about AI, we're talking about survival.
Related to that, how will you describe the state of the Nigerian economy?
Failed. One word. Failed. Because the most natural product that we have flowing like a river, people are fighting to kill themselves. You can see in the oil. Oil alone. If we can refine oil alone and all its subsidiaries, all the products that you can get, if you can get them alone and export them, we'll still be #1 nation on earth. Just look at Dangote that has not lasted up to a year. We are now the net exporters of jet fuel to advanced countries. I feel so proud. I told them to prepare before Dangote comes in. Otherwise, we will be facing the same problem as if Dangote was not existing. I said if Dangote comes in, the price of fuel will still not be cheaper. What is happening now? Why did I say so? Because what we are suffering is cost of production induced inflation, not demand pull inflation. Now, there is an inelastic demand when it has to do with oil. In other words, no matter the price, the demand will be the same. So, but when cost of production is high, there is no way you will sell at a lower price. Otherwise, you fold up. So Dangote cannot sell at a lower price because his cost of production is high. Yet, this government, rather than doing things to reduce cost of production, they are doing things they are doing things to discourage demand. Meaning we are suffering from stagflation. The prices of goods are high and there is no money to buy. Stagflation is one of the worst situations that you can be in. That's why I said Nigerian economy is stagnated, because we are suffering stagflation. The goods are high and there's no money to buy. That's why the companies are falling like pack of cards. If Dangote was not the richest man in Africa, his company would have collapsed. But he has what it takes to sustain it, to do the fight. And that's why he's surviving. So, the economy of Nigeria now has failed. You will soon see it. Can you imagine Tinubu is saying he inherited a near collapse economy? Assuming another president comes in now and is inheriting the indices of Tinubu, that is a collapsed economy. Because you, Tinubu, inherited 77 trillion naira in national debt. He's going to inherit 150 trillion naira in national debt. Which one is collapsible more than the other? You, Tinubu, inherited 195 naira PMS per liter. The president, whoever is taking over, because he's a one-term president, Tinubu is a one-term president, will inherit almost 1,000 naira per liter. Which one is more collapsible? In security, in economy, in respect for rule of law? Zero. And you're saying you inherited a near. When you want to make such statement, wait. When you have improved on what you met, that's when you can make such statement. But when it is worse, sorry, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Why do you say he's a one-term president?
Of course now. Who is
he has an option of running for a second term.
Okay. You want me to take it geopolitical zone by geopolitical zone? Okay. Let me start from Southeast. Whoever is from the Southeast and votes again for this president is not a true son of the Southeast. And I say this without any reservation. Why do I say this? Already, the Southeast people are feeling marginalized because they have only 5 states. And you can imagine this president that is so mean that he gave us only 2 ministers. We're entitled to 5 ministers by the Constitution. 2 ministers. Minister of Science, Minister of Works. That's all. When this government came in, we had 4 ministers. In other places, he changed ministers. He replaced it with ministers. He changed 2 of our ministers and did not give us ministers again. We had the Minister of Women Affairs in Anambra State. Tinubu took it and did not replace it with another minister. Don't tell me Minister of State. I've told you, Minister of State is an assistant to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He's one Yusuf. Is Honorable Yusuf Tuga. That's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So Anambra State now has no substantive minister. We took our Minister of Industry and Trade from Abia. Is it Abia or Imo? Did not replace it. Don't give me that thing about Minister of State. Because the Minister of Finance today is Wole Edu. So, when the opportunity came for the Abia Minister of State to be promoted to substantive Minister of Labor, because the substantive minister went back to the Senate, rejecting to be a minister, preferred to be a senator. He knows why. No, he did not even allow the Honorable Nkechi become a Nkiru, Honorable Nkiru, to become a full-fledged minister. Why? Because of hatred for Ndibo. Absolute. When he was campaigning, when he was doing his primary, he did not go to Southeast. He rather, when he finishes other zones he thought was important, now came to Abuja and say they should all come and see him. When he was campaigning, he said the Southeast will have soaked slice of bread. That's what they will get from him. Not slice of bread, though. No. The one that is so light, you won't see it except it is soaked. To tell you the level of marginalization. After the election, he said, these people came to Lagos when they were 12 years and they didn't support us. So he had the mind to emasculate and finish the Southeast. And on top of it, he went for a Muslim ticket. Southeast, they are 99.9% Christians. So whoever is choosing a Muslim ticket do not have any intention to have them in the presidency for any reason. And that is why I'm saying, anybody from the Southeast that is supporting Tinubu, you are an enemy. You're not a Southeast indigene. No, politics is about whoever is trying to finish your people and you're supporting the person, you are complicit. You're complicit. So, ethnically, religiously, Tinubu has excluded us from the scheme of things. And then you're telling me from the Southeast. Now, the Muslim ticket, look at how it's affecting Nigeria. Even the Muslim clerics from the north have come out to say we were duped and that they will never support same-faith ticket again. Look at how it's affecting the image of Nigeria, both abroad and in Nigeria. The Christian nations are now saying it that the Christians are persecuted. The Christians are being slaughtered. And let me tell you, they might not tell you that openly, but it's because of the Muslim ticket. Because I know it. If you ask me, I'll say everybody in Nigeria is suffering insecurity problem. But when they see that Christians are more than 50% of the population, and you're doing Muslim ticket, you will see Christian people saying, no, these people must have been traumatized and all that. That's why people like Akpoti-Uduaghan, that's why they are insisting that our diversity will be respected. I'll tell you something that you may have not known. Part of the reason that Akpoti-Uduaghan had not been president before now is his insistence on respecting our diversity. In 2007, when he contested for the president, he refused to choose a fellow Muslim to be his vice. He refused to choose Bola Tinubu to be his vice. Because he said, as far as Nigeria is concerned, it must be Muslim Christian ticket. In 2015, when Buhari won in the primary election, Buhari was contemplating to choose a fellow Muslim. Buhari went to Atiku to ask for Atiku's support after the primary. Atiku told him, I will support you on one condition. You cannot choose a fellow Muslim to run. And Buhari, it was tough for him because he knew the commitment. Then after a while, he came and gave his assurance to Atiku, and Akpoti-Uduaghan supported Buhari. So, because he is exposed, he's well traveled, he understands what it means when you have such large number of Christians and you want to create the impression that they don't matter. So now we can see how Tinubu is having problems with Muslim nations around the world because he's not performing. Muslims are being killed like chicken, and with Christian nations around the world. And you know, he has no solution to them. So coming from Southeast, you can see how Southeast people are hopeless under Tinubu. Now, you want to go to Southwest, his own people, who are the people that started crying, we are hungry? This is the government that has punished Southwest more than any other government in my life. I know the Southwest people to be people who work hard and they want to enjoy themselves after working hard. They are no longer badoing. They are now sufferhead. If you go to Southwest now, you know, how many go on me? Benny, I lived in Lagos for 17 years. We like to enjoy. When I had my shops in Idumota. So when we walk in the evening, you come and see enjoyment. It is no longer there. What you are seeing is begging. This government has reduced Yoruba people to beggars. I know what I'm talking about. Yoruba people that like to work hard, brilliant guys. I was taught by some very brilliant professors of Yoruba origin when I was reading my law. Oh, I so much like these people. Now Tinubu has reduced them to beggars. No more Eku Bandu. Is Eku suffering? That's what is happening in Southwest now. And he wants the Southwest to come and vote for him. Of course, they didn't even vote. Lagos State did not even vote for him in 2023. I believe that the other Southwest states will join up and remove this man. They are suffering. If you go inside the villages in Yoruba land, you will cry. And I know what I'm talking about. Let them prove me wrong. Are you talking about the North Central? No. Let's finish the South. Are you talking about South? Tinubu openly robbed Rivers State of 6 months of the leadership they elected by themselves. Tell me any zone after going through what Rivers State went through. 6 months of their resources being carted away by strangers. All the projects meant to at least assuage the level of suffering in Nigeria that Governor Fubara had brought up for Rivers State. Tinubu just suspended it. Suspended the leaders. Threw them out for nothing and brought a stranger to start destroying the resources of Rivers State. You're from such zones outside and you're thinking, is something wrong with you? Are you talking about North Central? You're from Benue, you're from Plateau, you're from Taraba, which is going down to Northeast, and you're suffering this level of insecurity. Look at Kwara State now. You're talking about insurgency, they're now bombing. These are places that used to be peaceful. Look at Kogi. Look at Naija. Even natural disaster like flood will claim hundreds in Naija. Now in Abuja, you can see how a young lady fell and died. Insecurity everywhere. Insensitivity everywhere. Natural disaster, the government will display insensitivity. Insecurity, the government will display incompetence. Throughout North Central, it has been one tragedy or the other. That each succeeding event now is continually becoming a harbinger of disaster. Tell me who is in North Central that will remember Tinubu in 2027? You want to doubt me that he's not a one-term president? If there is anything like half-term president. Some APC members vowed with their blood. Some of them have even died. And even in their dying wish, they were saying Tinubu is a one-term president. And I'm talking about people like Jesus Onokpasa. He came out. Even when he was dying, he was saying Tinubu will be a one-term president. I'm sure in the spirit world now, as a spirit, I'm sure he's fighting to make sure that Tinubu is a one-term president. APC member. Look at what's happening. You want to talk about Northwest? I told you about Zamfara and Katsina. People massacred during the time of worship. Killed. Muslims, so. And this is the man who used Muslim ticket to beguile them. Most of the votes that he got, that he's purporting that he won the election, came from Northwest. Look at what they are going through now. Is it the Northwest that will come to support him? I don't talk about Northeast. The governor of Borno has cried and cried, screamed, please don't take the resources that are using to fight insurgents. Insurgency is still there. And now you can see the resurgence of the insurgency. Killing farmers. The last time I heard 73 killed. This is because we have become numb to the number of deaths under Tinubu's regime. Northeast. Look at it. Nowhere is safe. So who is it that will vote for Tinubu? Please let me know. Let me know. So if there is anything like half-term president, that's what he would have been. But no, the worst he can be is one-term president.
Okay, you alluded to Rivers State. Now that the president has called off the state of emergency in Rivers State, was this justification enough to suspend the governor, suspend the state assembly? And what should the governor do? Should he take legal action? And as a member of the bar, how do you feel that the Supreme Court has also not adjudicated on the issue of the PDP governors that went to court over the emergency rule in Rivers State?
It's quite unfortunate. As a lawyer, I am not proud of what the Supreme Court did, because rule of law means that the court should always rise up to interpret the provisions of the Constitution to add value to our democracy. And the court, having not seized the opportunity, 90 days, 6 months is 180 days. That is the time that Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court combined. It is still more time that an election petition is decided. The appeal for an election decision is 60 days at the Court of Appeal, 60 days at the Supreme Court, and 480 days, that's 6 months, Supreme Court could not take up a case that would have threatened the fabric of our democracy to adjudicate on it, so that future presidents, because if you give a president the power that he can remove the elected representatives of the federating unit, democracy is gone. Opposition is gone. Because once a president wants to capture a state, he will just declare a state of emergency. State of emergency is for disasters. State of emergency is for invasion, is for wars, is for anything that needs extraordinary measure to occur. It has nothing to do with elected representatives of the people. Anything that touches elected representatives of the people is a martial law, not a constitutional change. The Constitution is very clear. Section 1, subsection 2, that the Federal Republic of Nigeria or any part thereof shall not be governed by any person or any group of persons. Neither shall any such people take control of such government, except in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. And the Constitution is very clear that it is through democratic principle. Section 14, subsection 1. Nigeria is a state that should be democratic. Clear. And accordingly, sovereignty belongs to the people. So, Rivers State people, having expressed their sovereignty and chosen their elected leaders, where did this president get the power to suspend elected representatives? I agree completely with the vice president, Shetima. And the president does not have the power to suspend a councillor. So if the vice president of Tinubu would tell you the president does not have power to suspend a councillor, where did the president get the power to suspend a governor? House of Assembly members. Where? The 305, section 305 is very clear. Section 45 is very clear. Section 11 is very clear. What you can suspend is the fundamental human rights during the time of emergency. And the truth is that you're not even suspending it. You're trying to ensure it. Let me bring this way. You are a natural disaster going on, flood that will kill people. You will tell them they must not leave their house, and you enforce it. Why? You are infringing on their freedom of movement in order to save their lives. So which one is better? That is just what restriction of 305 permits the president to do. And do you know that it is the president that has the duty to secure lives and property in Nigeria? No state has power for any state police. When Tinubu was in power, Dele Alake, and I will still be saying this because I liked what he did so much that when I met him personally, I said, Dele, thank you for doing this. Dele told President Obasanjo, you cannot declare state of emergency in Lagos State because of the issue of security. Because, Mr. President, the issue of security is your duty, not the duty of Lagos State. So how can Tinubu declare state of emergency and remove elected representatives in Rivers State based on issue of security when that is his own duty? When he has the sole command of all the security forces. Okay, now let me ask. When Tinubu took over the government of Rivers State for 6 months, how many of the criminals that vandalized pipelines were arrested? How many? A military man went there with all the military boots on ground. They could not arrest one person. But they blamed Fubara that Fubara was, according to the Attorney General, he has blown the whistle to his followers that will blow pipelines. Where are the pipelines blown? Where are the people that blew it? Hoax, propaganda, deceit, enchantment, bewitchment, nothing else. No justification whatsoever to even declare state of emergency. Then even if you declare state of emergency, no constitutional power to remove elected representatives. And he did both. If you ask me, I'll say in my own opinion, they were targeting the resources of Rivers State. And the mere fact that the sole administrator is even saying he cannot be probed by Rivers people is another affront to the sovereignty of the Rivers people to choose their elected representative. You came in, took their resources, and you're saying they can't ask you a question. What an insult. So there is no justification whatsoever to even declare state of emergency. The only thing I know that was happening in Rivers State is that there was a disagreement between the governor and his godfather, which manifested in disagreement between him and the House of Assembly members. And after the Supreme Court judgment, all of them said they were going to obey the Supreme Court judgment. So what else? I would have just ended it. So, my dear, there's no justification. For me, the Supreme Court would have taken up the issue. They would have heard it. They would have made definite pronouncement, which is still not late. Because they can still, it's about interpreting the Constitution. They can still go ahead to interpret the Constitution. Let us know whether they have chosen democracy or they have chosen dictatorship. Because any law that gives the president the power to remove elected representatives of the people brings democracy to an end. Because whether you bring your leaders through free and fair election, the president now has the final say of who will be governor or who will be House of Assembly member. That's what it means if you say the president has power to remove elected representatives of the federating units. For me, it does not. I agree with Shetima.
So can Fubara himself go to court to challenge his removal?
I will not talk about whether he can go to court or not. I will talk about the rule of law. Fubara is entitled to his own way of how he wants his own things to be done. So, Fubara, in my own opinion, his 6 months has been illegally taken away from him. And I say he has the right to go to court to reclaim his 6 months. That's my own opinion. Because Section 180, subsection 2, made it clear that the term of office of a governor is 4 years. And the Supreme Court has ruled that it's sacrosanct. That is why we have staggered elections. So if a governor is sworn in today, he would have 4 years to govern. So whether the general election is there or not, you will give him 4 years. If you take 6 months from Fubara, he now has 3 years, 6 months. And it was not his fault. At least nobody has proved that he has done anything. He has not waged war against the Federal Republic. There was no invasion of the Federal Republic. There was no war in Rivers State. So if the 6 months was taken away from him, the Constitution says anytime it is not conducive to organize the election because of state of emergency, you shift the election by 6 months. That's what the Constitution says. So if Tinubu say it is not convenient for Fubara to govern for 6 months because of state of emergency, what it means is that you have shifted his administration by 6 months. That's my opinion. So I am not saying he should go to court or not. I'm saying, in my own opinion, he has the right to go to court to recover his 4 years. So it's left for him whether he wants to try that out or not. But if it's me, I will try that out.
All right, ahead of 2027, we've seen all kinds of movements. And, well, what's the advice for former President Goodluck Jonathan, who some northern leaders are wooing or advising him to join the race for 2027?
President Jonathan has his own opinion to make, and he's entitled to it. My own advice is that he should not even near it. My own advice. He should not even contemplate it. The same forces that nearly destroyed his name, clueless, this and that, when they were not in power. The same forces are the ones now that are in power. They would take his name to the toilets. They will roll him on the ground. I have been in politics. And of course, he is very vulnerable because he has been a former president and he went against certain conventions and certain norms. And you know what? Jonathan almost governed for 6 years. People like us that are saying that we want the tenure to change to become one tenure for the president for 6 years, then how would I now begin to say that he should be given an opportunity to now maybe govern for going to how many years? Almost 10 years, assuming he has another 10. Because he governed for almost 6 years. So, if I were in his position, now that I've acquired the status of international statesman, like the wife said, what is he going back to do? Are you trying to say there are no other Nigerians that can rescue Nigeria? Anybody telling you to come back is trying to use your goodwill now to make a political party to survive. I heard Jerry Ghana saying PDP will bring him. PDP is gasping for life. So they want to use somebody's goodwill to know whether they can escape 2027 because they know that they are dead already. So, but if a Jonathan comes in, they will still be, as in making noise. They know he will not win. It's very settled. Why? Because he's from the south. So you cannot use a southerner, in my own opinion, to defeat a Tinubu now. It will be very difficult because if there is no northerner, for instance, that is contesting, Tinubu will just buy up the whole north, give them all phony appointments, and they will not have any dog in the fight, and all of them will vote for him because they will say, "Oh, he will have only 4 years to stay." But if there is a northerner, whether he wins or not, there will be a contest because they will have an interest in it. That was what Tinubu did to Jonathan in 2015. Went and brought in a northerner and used him to cause a disruptive change to remove Jonathan. So I will advise Jonathan, if I were him, I will not run because they would roll him in the mud. They would destroy him so much that he will regret he ever even contemplated it. He's enjoying his life so much now. If Jonathan travels to any country, he's more respected than Tinubu. So what is he looking for in Tinubu's job? For me, Jonathan now has more international credibility than Tinubu. So what is he looking in Tinubu's job? He has been a former president with all the respect and all the accolades and all the paraphernalia of a former president. So if I were him, I wouldn't even think of it. There was a time I actually thought about Jonathan too. But after a while, after real close thinking, I'm like, no. It will be a minus for him. Especially after the wife, made some public comments. I think I agree with the wife on that.
What is the state of international relations with Nigeria currently?
Disaster. It's no longer any news that Nigeria is not having a very smooth relationship with America. America is the most powerful nation on earth, at least today. And I heard Tinubu saying he doesn't care what Donald Trump does. And I'm like, did I hear well? There is no head of state that has any modicum of international relations experience that will ever make such a public statement. None. If you come to your village and there is, assuming there is a bully and he's destroying everybody, you will use wisdom when you want to address that person. No matter what you think about America, America can still keep you very uncomfortable. America can still embarrass you like they have embarrassed Nigeria. You want to go for your visa after paying all those money, they will say 3 months, non-multiple. People who have interviews now in American embassy, when they know they can't travel within 3 months, they will be shifting it. And you're saying you don't care what Donald Trump is doing. No, you care. The only thing that you are not competent to handle somebody like Donald Trump. Wiser leaders would have been approaching the issue with wisdom. A lot of people will now say, no, he should not submit our sovereignty to America. And who is telling him to submit our sovereignty to America? I'll be the last to advise any president not to hold his stuff when you're dealing with any nation, including America. But when I was a student, and I'm still one, of international law and diplomacy, they say in international relations, you apply tact and skill in dealing with nations and with leaders. So there's nothing like America is trying to bully Nigeria. No. The president is just incompetent in handling international relations. And if you are a Nigerian and you're Nigerian and not in good books of the most powerful nation on earth, it's going to cost you something. Now, those people who are saying, no, maybe he's standing up to America. Okay. Assuming he has very good relations with poorer nations, with our neighbors, you will now say, okay, he's doing well there. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. Nigeria is not having good relation with Niger Republic, with Burkina Faso, with Mali. And it's because of the incompetent way he handled the change of government in Niger Republic. In international relations, they will say, use soft words, but carry big stick. But this is a Tinubu that is using tough words with no stick at all. So, propaganda. He thought he can carry his propaganda to the international level. Immediately there was a change of government. He shouted, 7 days, I give you 7 days to return the power, or you'll be thrown out. Look at him. The person that has so much insecurity in his place that is not even positioned to go to war is threatening another sovereign nation. If you don't remove after 7 days, what happened? Even after a while, he sent a delegation, federal government delegation, and the probably turned it back. Because anytime you've made a boast and you don't follow it up with action, your respect. That's why when you see great countries, they talk less and do more. Before they make any boast or any statement, they know that they have 7 times the power to carry it out. But look at you. You don't have good economy. You have insecurity problems. And you're making a boast you will throw away a government within 7 days. Immediately after that, they know that this person is just propaganda, no action. Today, ECOWAS, under his watch as chairman, has split. These are poorer nations. These are Muslim nations. These are neighboring nations. And he can't handle them. So isn't it a disaster? Because of his incompetence in dealing with that issue, the 7 states of the north bordering Niger Republic, they faced sanctions, as in they could not trade with Niger Republic for more than months. He did not consult any of the governors before cutting off from Niger Republic. West Africa is still paying the price today. It is not because of military coup. Military coup has been happening. This same President Buhari that he wants to malign everything about. There were coups that happened when Buhari was there. Buhari will look very closely and know the ones that it is those civilian heads of state that are responsible, because they were either trying to change the constitution or trying to manipulate the electoral process. Buhari said that though we do not want any military regime, so also any civilian that want to circumvent democratic process will still not be tolerated. And now, without your investigating to know whether these people still want their leaders or the civilian autocrats are rigging the election or changing the constitution, you want to bully a people into the choice of a government which you do not know whether they want. And so Nigeria is now suffering with its relationship with its neighbors because of the incompetence of this leader. So the foreign relations experience this government has been a disaster. One word. Nigeria is paying the price for it. And West Africa is paying the price for it. West Africa went and made a leader, the chairman of ECOWAS. Immediately he was elected without interviewing and interrogating his capacity on international level. So you can imagine what Tinubu did, like choosing a fellow Muslim to become his vice when the Pope was being inaugurated. There was no Christian on the presidency, from the presidency, that could represent Nigeria. For you to know why people like Atiku are saying that Muslim Christian ticket is sacrosanct. Tinubu had to go. And when they were doing sign of the cross, if you ever tried it, you see him doing it like this. That is why our diversity is our greatest strength. That's why the Constitution said that any such association must cut across religious barriers. Section 15(3)(d). The state should encourage national integration, and such associations like the presidency must cut across religious background, religious barrier. Because in section 142, the Constitution described the vice president as an associate of the president. And that means the combination of two of them is an association. And such association must cut across religious barrier. Please don't associate me with same-faith ticket. If it is a Christian ticket, I will not vote for it, at least not for now in Nigeria. Because if they're doing anything in Mecca, they might not even allow a Christian president, vice president, Christian to even enter Mecca. That's how you diminish yourself. Rather than using what you have as strength, people like Tinubu is using it as weakness. Employing only Yoruba people. Not all the Yorubas. Lagos axis of his loyalists. Then Muslim ticket, in order to deceive the Muslims so that you can win election. That's what it is. So you can see how international relationship and relations have been a disaster. You see him a Muslim representing Nigeria that has more than 50% population when the Vatican was being changed. Embarrassment. If he had a VP that's a Christian, it would have just been an easy thing. He would just represent Nigeria. And everybody will be feeling sense of belonging. And no Christian nation or no nation abroad will be saying you're slaughtering Nigerian Christians in hundreds of thousands. That's the truth.
I'm a senior member of the bar, and the news of the death of Arise News anchor, Akpoti-Uduaghan, that happened just a few days ago. What's your reaction to her very sudden death?
I was traumatized. You may not understand. One man that lost his child said losing a child is like somebody pulling your tooth without analgesics. You will never understand. When I lost my younger brother, that I was like a father to, I've not recovered from it till today. Paul Madabrochukwu. You will not understand losing a child. When that man described that thing, you will be able to understand the trauma. When I saw the father of this lady, they say he couldn't talk because of the trauma. 29-year-old lady with such level of promise. A learned gentleman. You know, we have ladies at the bar. A learned gentleman, my learned friend, at 29, the parents invested a lot into this lady. They have seen her future. Beautiful and brilliant. She was not sick as to prepare anybody that she's departing. And just like that, went to bed full-fledged, beautiful queen with brilliance and brains and dreams intact, only to wake up in the morning for the parents to get a call. She was not in active duty. She was not fighting Boko Haram or insurgency as to prepare anybody that anything can happen, that your daughter is dead. Because of insecurity, I was traumatized because it reminded me things I didn't want to remember. You should not pray to lose a child or anybody that has ever been like a child to you. It was me, the way I'm feeling, I can imagine the way the parents are feeling. If the government has any modicum of kindness, they should be sending people every day to the parents of this young lady to be psychologists, to be making them to understand that life has not ended, because they might be thinking that they might lose interest in this life. 29 years, such a paragon, such a beauty, such a brilliant film. Because there are certain jobs you can only do when you're brilliant, because everybody's watching you. It was a very ugly experience. May I use this opportunity to extend my heartfelt condolences to the family of Somtochukwu Somie. It's heartbreaking. And I'm a public affairs analyst. Keep meeting the likes of this kind of lady, and we appreciate their intelligence. Let me extend my condolences to her family, to her parents. Can imagine how young the parents are. They might even be my age, don't know. Then to the Arise television station, I am like a family to the Arise TV station, and it's traumatic. It was. I am hurting because apart from her, being a lawyer, which is relatable to me, she's also in the media, which is also relatable to me. So this is what is called irreparable and irreplaceable loss. May such a thing not happen to any family. May it not happen to my worst enemy. May God console this family. May God console Nigeria. Oh Lord God of replacement, even though as men, please find a way to replace such a loss to this family in the name of Jesus. Amen. It is terrible. May God grant us holy eternal rest.
It's been a pleasure talking to you once again on Naija Unfiltered.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.